Hello there, my happy little chefs. Today we're going to cook something wicked delicious, perfect for those who love a burst of flavor in their meals. Whether or not you've been told you have to eat plant-based or you choose to eat plant-based, we're here to help. And today we're going to be making my famous lasagna. And this one is high in protein, gluten-free, oil-free, and healthier. But don't let that scare you, because I won't make anything that doesn't taste good. And I'm going to break this down into 4 parts: a flavor paste, the sauce, a Bolognese, and a cheesy Mornay. I'll link to the full recipe below. First, we're going to want to toast off the black peppercorns and fennel seeds with the garlic cloves. It's a great little tip I learned from a chef over in Thailand. Toast the garlic with the skins on. It actually makes it like it's roasted garlic and very easy to peel afterwards. Plus it adds that touch of smoky flavor and that depth that we're looking for. We're going to be building happy little layers here. Layers full of flavor. So once you're done toasting the garlic, just set it aside on the cutting board and start to grind the peppercorn and fennel. And we're going to steal that lemony flavor by microplaning a whole lemon. It's going to add that burst of sunshine in this dish. Then we're going to peel our garlic. So the garlic should be very easy to squeeze, and you can remove the skins very easily. We're just going to add those right to the mortar and start pounding that paste. We're also going to add rosemary, and then we're going to use the oregano we picked in the garden earlier. A quick dice on each will help make the paste smoother in the end. We're going to add a touch of sage. We'll throw in a handful of parsley, and then we have that delicious garlic. For those of you aware of the Wicked Kitchen brand, we launched into the UK a couple years ago a seasoning spice mix called the Wicked Kitchen Lemon, Garlic, and Herb Seasoning. Well, this is how to make it fresh. You're going to want to pound this paste to be smooth. Happy little taps. Take your time with it. Use it as meditation. If I'm honest, it'll look like whatever you can scrape out from underneath your lawnmower. A nice handy little trick I learned in Thailand as well is adding water to the mortar after you pound the spices to add into what we're going to do later. It just utilizes all the flavor. Towards the end, I just mix in some smoked paprika, and then chili pepper is totally optional. And we're done with part 1. I like to break these up into parts because you can make them in certain parts of the day. You could make the paste yesterday, you could make the sauce today, you could make the bolognese tomorrow, and you could stretch this out over a few days if you like. Or if you're like me, you could just get up early and make this between calls, between Zoom calls. So for the sauce, we're just going to bang out the mirepoix by dicing some celery, an onion, some carrots. For the sauce, don't be so concerned about having perfect dice on these, because this is going to get blended up. Me, I'm just a freak and I like to practice my knife skills, so there you have it. Any chance I can chop something up and not sit by the computer, I'm on it. And I'll let you in on a little secret. I like to play games while I cook. How fast I can dice something, how clean I can do it, how I used to count my movements when I used to work in the restaurant, of how many steps it takes to go make a dish, or how fast I could do something, how this and that. I just set goals and challenges in my head. It helped me become better, I think. That's the wonderful thing about cooking. You get to do it 3 or 4 or 5 times a day, however many times you want to eat, or you're cooking for somebody else. So it gives you that many opportunities to practice. I love that. When I can, I like to lay all the prep out in front of me, all the mirepoix, and just having it all together, ready to cook the dish. This just happens to look like the flag of Ireland. And we get a special appearance from Frankie. Now let's get on with the cooking. So since we're not using any oil in this, we're going to do steam saute. So that's where I just heat up the pot, add the veggies, add the garlic, and then let it caramelize just a little bit before adding the liquid. So here I'm adding half of a jar of roasted red peppers, and then I fill it again halfway with water. And then we'll move on to the canned plum tomatoes. I use 4 cans of plum tomatoes. I pour them into a separate bowl just so I can get my hands in there and squish them up nice and good. Good, chunky, but not too big, because this is going to be a faster sauce. So I'm only going to let it simmer for an hour or 2. And here's where I'll add a couple of the tablespoons of that flavor paste. And I can break this sauce down into 4 stages. So you do the mirepoix first. We'll steam saute it till they're translucent and super tender. We'll add it to a blender. We'll blend this base mix up with a couple scoops of the tomato juice just to make sure it blends nice. We'll add it back to the pot and then we'll simmer the sauce. So mirepoix, sweat the veggies, blend, simmer. Second tip and little tool I like to use, it's called a flame tamer. So anything I'm simmering for a long period of time, I use this flame tamer to guard against the flame in the pot. It helps to prevent burning. If you're really into the whole foods, plant-based, no oil cooking, my brother and I contributed most of the recipes to John Mackey's Whole Foods Cookbook. He's former co-founder of Whole Foods Market, and this book is packed with 120 delicious and healthy plant-centered recipes, and I know they don't suck. Now let's move on to the third part of the recipe, the Bolognese. So this we're going to dice the mirepoix again. So I guess you could have diced it in the beginning, made a double batch, but I didn't think like that. I just think of it in sections. Plus you can totally do the sauce and Bolognese on separate days and still make this dish. And if you just want to make this Bolognese and have it as a lentil Bolognese, it's delicious on its own. So let's get into the prep in here. I want to make everything uniform in size. So from the onions to the celery to the carrots that we're adding to this. The lentils are small. I want all the veggies to be small. I learned a long time ago, everything should fit on a spoon or a fork, whatever you're eating with. I don't want huge chunks of veg here. I want everything uniform and perfect. So you can just shovel it in because it's that good. So the opening scene of this recipe, I was pouring lentils into a cup. Now I got up early this morning so I could soak the lentils while I went and walked Frankie. So for about an hour. You don't have to actually soak the lentils if you don't want. I highly suggest rinsing them. Soaking them helps them cook a lot faster. They absorb a lot more water in the beginning rather than have to boil it through them. I'm not a scientist, but that's how I think about it. Another great tip and even habit of mine is cleaning as you go. So between every veg, I always wipe down the cutting board. The cleaner my surroundings, the more clear I can think. And remember, cooking isn't hard, prepping isn't hard. And to quote Bob Ross, talent is a pursued interest. Anything you're willing to practice, you can do. So when you accomplish this prep, even the mirepoix, give yourself a pat on the back. Once you have the mirepoix ready, we're going to do the steam saute again. So heat up the pan slightly, add all the mirepoix, add some of that flavor paste, and then just a little bit of liquid at a time to keep it from sticking on the bottom. So we're going to want to get a little bit of caramelization before we start adding the liquid and the tomato on here. But it all happens pretty quick. And my ratio for lentils is 3-to-1 for this dish. It makes the perfect consistency. And I use water. You can use broth, but I find that flavor paste has so much boost, packed with flavor, I don't need it. And then at the end, I'm just going to stir in about 5 tablespoons of tomato paste. Then I'll bring the lentils to a boil and then lower to a simmer until done. And you know they're done when you can actually chew them and they don't break your teeth. Lentils cook pretty quick. They're not like the bigger legumes or beans. And now we're on to the fourth part, the last stage of the recipe, the cauliflower Mornay. And this is gluten-free, so we're not going to add any flour. And this recipe is taken after a bechamel, which is flour and milk. And we're going to be using cauliflower. 100% vegetables here. A really good way to get your veggies in. And this is a great recipe as well, just to use this sauce with pasta or as a gravy or any other creative way you can think of. And it's very easy. Simply broken down, it's cauliflower, potato, and garlic, boiled, and then blended with a little bit of plant milk. That's your basic neutral white sauce with no gluten. Where we'll get the kicks of flavor is the spices and herbs we add to this. And we want this cheesy, so I'm going to be adding nutritional yeast. That's probably the only thing in here that might be a little out there. But if you're vegan or plant-based already, you already know that nutritional yeast is like pixie dust or I like to call it hippie fish food, how I used to make fun of my brother when we were younger. And on the nooch, you can add as much or as little as you like. So I'm adding about 5 or 6 tablespoons here, maybe a cup. It'll give that umami flavor, the cheesiness that we're looking for, but it's very mild. A couple things here with the process is you want to blend it super smooth. So in a high-speed blender, or if you don't have a high-speed blender, just make sure you blend it for a little extra longer. You really want it silky smooth. You'll see it shine. It's really a delicious and amazing sauce. And in this recipe, I'm using corn flour or cornstarch just a little bit because I want it when it cooks off in the oven. I want it to stay together and not be watery. Now for the bonus round, we're going to add kale. So I like to have a really thick layer of greens in my lasagnas, whether it's baby spinach or another kind of green. The kale we're using, if you saw me earlier in the video, I went out to the garden and picked the fresh kale. Luckily, I planted that last year, so I'm still reaping the rewards. And we're just going to steam that off in a shallow pan with a little bit of water and then these amazing steam baskets. I believe this is one of my favorite kitchen tools if you're eating healthier. And it's one Christmas, I think I gave them to all my friends. I was so excited about them. The one thing I'm in the habit of, and also another happy little tip, is I always julienne an onion and add that onto the bottom of any pan that I'm roasting, like with this lasagna. It'll help keep things from sticking. If you're not using oil, as in I would normally oil the bottom of the pan, I add that onion to create that little barrier. So even if it does caramelize, it's just going to taste amazing, and usually nothing sticks. We're going to move on to layering the lasagna. I'm using 2 really big loaf pans for this. You can use one big pan, you can use whatever you want to fit it in. And this, because I want to have one for myself, and I'm going to make one for a neighbor. But we'll just start building it. Layer after layer, flavor after flavor. And here we're using gluten-free lasagna sheets or pasta sheets. Now you don't have to have it gluten-free, but I wanted to try to check all the boxes in this recipe. Gluten-free, oil-free, plant-based, always animal-free. Which reminds me, I want to say thank you for the great comments. I'm so happy that people are finding these videos beneficial. You know, if you have to take medication because of what you eat, it's not normal. And honestly, for me to go vegan, I needed to be able to cook the way that I want to cook, which is, I think, is cool, and also eat really delicious, amazing dishes. So I'm not sacrificing or compromising on anything. And it's just a huge bonus that it's healthier. And we definitely don't claim to make everything healthy. You know, our whole shtick is wicked healthy. 80% healthy, 20% wicked. If you can focus on having really healthier dishes 80% of the time, I like to enjoy and indulge just like everybody else does. That's why I do a lot of these recipes that are just full fat, and full flavor, because I mix it up. And sorry, I detract. So I add a little bit of parchment paper and then tin foil, because that'll help cook and steam it the inside. I baked it off for about 45 to 50 minutes at 180 degrees Celsius. That's about 350 in the US Fahrenheit. And then I'll remove the top and then pop it back in the oven for another 15 minutes just to get the top of it all nice and glistening like this. Now with lasagna, I'm a day after kind of guy. So I save lasagna, cool it down really so it solidifies and makes a nice pie, and then heat it up again the next day. I think that's when it's best, and that's how we would do it at a restaurant. For this, I'm going to let it cool. I probably let it cool for about an hour before I slice it into this so it could settle, just to get this really nice cross cut and enjoy some dinner because I'm starving. It's all I've had today was a little bit of the lentils and now this mungo piece of lasagna. And I find this so delicious, and it's just so satisfying and heartwarming, and it's all the things and healthy. It's really, really incredible. I hope you get to try this recipe. Our time is coming to an end in this video. I really appreciate watching, supporting, talking to your friends, and eating plant-based. Thank you very much. I'll see you soon.